Hey everybody, so we're starting a new unit on probability, and we are going to start with theoretical probability. So first of all, what is probability? What does that mean? Well, probability describes the chance or the likelihood that something is going to happen. Think of the word probably, like is it going to rain today? Probably. Even rain, even the weather has a probability. If you check your weather app on your phone or you watch the Weather Channel, like let's say there might be a 60% chance of rain today. That's a probability. That's the likelihood that it's going to rain. So let's just get into theoretical probability. That's the chance that something should happen when you look at all of your possible outcomes and you compare that to what it is you're looking for. That's theoretical probability. So to find the theoretical probability of an event, you're going to write the number of wanted outcomes over the number of possible outcomes. And you can write it as a fraction. In class, we usually use fractions, but you can also express probability as a decimal or a percent. Just by changing, your fraction, divide your numerator by your denominator to get a decimal, multiply that by 100 to get your percent. All three of those different methods are acceptable for showing probability. But anyway, let's look at an example of some theoretical probability here. So what's the probability of rolling a 3 on any die? So like any normal die would have the numbers 1 through 6. So you write the possible number of wanted outcomes. So if we're looking for a 3, there should only be one 3 on a die. And we're going to write that over the number of possible outcomes. Well, 1 through 6 are all possible, so you have a 1/6 probability of getting a 3. That's theoretical. That's what should happen. That's not necessarily what will happen. So what's the probability of drawing a king from a deck of cards? On any given deck of cards, you've got 52 cards, if you don't count jokers, which we don't because they don't matter. All right? And you should have 4 kings in your deck. So the probability here would be 4 out of 52. Now that can be simplified as a fraction, and we would like to see it simplified just because. So if we simplify 4 over 52, we would get 1 out of 13. So that's the theoretical probability of getting a king in a deck of cards. Let's look at a couple more examples. I'm going to clear ink. Here we have a spinner. A spinner is a pretty popular tool when discussing probability. And we can see that this spinner has 8 different sections on it. There's 3 blue sections, 2 purple, 1 red, 2 yellow. And we have the numbers 1 through 8 on the spinner as well. So we're going to look at some probability involving the spinner. So the first question here is, what's the probability of landing on an 8? Out of all the possible numbers you could land on, 8 only occurs 1 time. So that would be a 1 out of 8. What's the probability of landing on an odd number? All right, so our odd numbers are 1, 3, 5, and 7. And we have 3 odd numbers. I'm sorry, 4 odd numbers, 1, 3, 5, and 7. So that would be a 4 out of 8. And that, of course, simplifies to 1/2. So the probability of landing on an odd number is a half, 50%, 1 out of 2. What's the probability of landing on a blue slice? We have 3 blue slices out of 8 total slices. So 3/8. And what's the probability of landing on red or yellow? Whenever we see that word or in probability, that means that we can add up our probabilities. So what's the probability of landing on a red? That would be a 1 out of 8. And then the probability of landing on a yellow would be a 2 out of 8. So the word or tells us that it doesn't matter which one we land on. We'll take any of those. So we can add them up, and we can say that there's a 3 out of 8 probability, 3/8 probability that you will land on either a red or a yellow. All right, so that's it for theoretical probability, and it's just the basics, but hopefully it gives you an idea on how to use it.